growing up playing soccer just has always offered me, the ability to become organized, to become disciplined, to have motivation, to learn to tackle like new situations and everything.
Hey team, welcome to the Kick It with Katie podcast. I am your host, Katie Colliker, and welcome to episode 15. We're getting up there, so yay! Anyway, today's episode is featuring my interview with Dr. Kerry Reller. She is a physician out of Clearwater, Florida, and she is also the host of the Get Healthy Tampa Bay podcast. So if you want more information on her or like what she has to say and want more information from her, go find her podcast and give it a listen. I'm going to be putting her link in her show notes, so you should be able to find a link to her podcast there. If you have any follow-up questions for her, reach out to her. You can follow her on, I believe, Instagram as well, and I will put her link in the show notes as well. But make sure for today, if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast and give it a 5-star review. And if you're on Apple Podcasts or anywhere, leave a great review as well with that 5-star review. So thank you guys for those that have already done it. Thank you for sharing the episodes. It definitely helps the podcast be more visible to those that want to have more content like this. And the podcast is growing, so I'm super excited about that. So thank you guys so much. I mentioned in the interview today with Kerry, I talk a little bit about the weather, and this was recorded a couple weeks ago, and I talk about how it's snowing. Well, guess what? It's April, and it's still snowing. It's the first week of April, and it's still freaking snowing. Like right now, it is currently snowing, and we're expecting several inches of snow, and we're sick of it because our soccer season has been delayed significantly. I think between all of the teams that we are involved in, we've only played in our leagues like 4 games maybe between the multiple teams that we coach and our kids play on, which is not a lot because by now we should have had multiple games. So I think we've had at least I would say 4 games canceled so far. Not amazing. I know other teams have had more games canceled, and we're just missing it right now. We really want spring to pull through, so come on, spring, stop snowing. Anyway, so that's kind of what is going on in my neck of the woods. I don't know what it is like in your neck of the woods, but hopefully your weather is better. And one last thing really quick, merch. I'm going to be getting some stickers soon, and the t-shirts are being printed. They're going to take a couple weeks, so be watching for that. But go over to my Instagram, Kick It with Katie podcast _ between all the words. My link is in the show notes. I'm going to be doing a giveaway for some of those stickers because I'll be getting those sooner than the shirts, and I want to be able to get some merch out to you guys as a big thank you for listening and sharing the podcast. So please head over there. Make sure you're following me on Instagram so that you can get notified when that happens, because it might be this weekend. I don't know. You'll have to find out. You need to follow me on Instagram to figure it out. And I'm very excited about next week's episode. I interviewed the host of the We Are Soccer podcast, Craig Hearn. And shout out to the guys over there. Hey guys, what's up? Thank you guys for listening. And Craig, thank you for the interview. Brooks and Nate, if you guys are open to be interviewed as well, I would love to interview both of you. Also, go check out We Are Soccer. They're a live show that goes out live every Sunday night, and they post their live feeds as podcasts. You can find them on lots of platforms, but go and find them, subscribe to them as well. They're great. So they talk a lot about the different leagues all over the world. So if you want more information about professional soccer or just open, candid interviews, not like, I don't want to say they're not professionally paid pundits to comment on games or things like that. So they're just some guys talking shop. So I've definitely enjoyed their conversations that I've been listening to. So shout out to you guys. And Again, Craig, thank you for the interview. But today's interview, again, is with Dr. Kerry Reller. And I really enjoyed my interview with her because we discuss former players and becoming parents of hopefully players and what that's like, the transition phase, I guess you could say, going from player to being a parent, and then myself as a coach of my own kids and her experiences of introducing her kids into the soccer world, and we just have a really great conversation about that. So hopefully you guys enjoy this interview that I did with Kerry Reller. Hey team, I have Kerry Reller here and I'm excited to introduce her. She is in Florida, so I definitely wish I was where you are. It's snowing today where I'm at,
Oh gosh.
so happy spring to us here in Utah. Anyway, so Kerry, why don't you just get started with your journey?
Yeah, so have grown up in Clearwater, Florida, pretty much my whole life until I went to college. And I started playing soccer really young, maybe 4 or 5. And I think that was because I'm the youngest of 4 kids. And my dad liked to get involved coaching as well. So he actually has been along on my journey for quite some time. And I started playing, rec soccer and everything, and with the boys, and they always made me be goalie, and I hated that. And finally, when I was like 7 or 8, they had like an all girls under 10 team, and that's kind of where I think I got hooked on soccer. And I would
Mm-hmm.
say that my dad did too, because he started coaching that team, and then he coached me through high school as well. And he never played or anything, but he really enjoyed being a part of it. So I played in Countryside Lightning, which I think has dissolved since I played.
Mm-hmm.
But now they kind of combined with a team called the Clearwater Chargers. So they're together now. But I played at Countryside Lightning and in Clearwater, Florida, and played on that club team from till I graduated high school as well. I played in high school at Clearwater Central Catholic High School, and we did pretty well, fun time. And then
Mm-hmm.
I did not play in college. There was definitely, I would debated whether to go to play college soccer or not. It really, I wanted to, but it wasn't like my main goal. I wanted to be an engineer, and basically, I knew that would be a little bit difficult to balance everything. So I was recruited by some D1 and some D3 teams that would help me get into their school when I wouldn't normally been able to successfully probably get into them. And then I didn't end up choosing either of those, and I went to a school where kind of hard to make the team. And I did, try to walk on. I was injured at the time, and it's always a sore spot because I think I wanted to play college soccer, and I could have, in most
Mm-hmm.
locations, and then I didn't end up doing it. But what I did do was they didn't have a club team where I played, or I went to school, but they had, intramural teams, and I did that, and that
Mm-hmm.
was a lot of fun. And then I also played extra with these guys who were training the women's team. So I was still like constantly exposed and played a little more than the average, I would say, person at school too. So that was a good time. And then really growing up playing soccer just has always offered me, the ability to become organized, to become disciplined, to have motivation, to learn to tackle like new situations and everything, and keep up, with fitness and nutrition. And I think that part I did struggle with as I got older, but also like the camaraderie and community that was involved in it. And club soccer was always, you know, um, really important. I think developing skills, but I think the camaraderie came in our high school soccer team as well, and obviously learning to balance like the harder classes that I needed to take to prep to go to college and everything, and
Mm-hmm.
then also the sports.
How was it having your dad as your coach? So you said that he wasn't like a soccer person. So
Mm-hmm.
did he like do coaching courses to do that? Was he more of an assistant? Was he the head coach? And how was that as a player having your parent be the coach? Because I know sometimes you hear, difficulties or favoritism or things like that. And
Right.
so how was that for you having your dad be your coach?
Yeah, so he did get his license. I think it was he couldn't get a higher license because he wasn't an actual player. But he was at one point I think he was head coach, and then, eventually like the professionals came in and he was just an assistant coach. He did also assistant coach at our high school team as well. He just really loved coaching and,
Mm-hmm.
was along for the ride. I would say for the favoritism type thing, I don't really think it was an issue, especially with him when he wasn't head coach. Like I either earned my spot or, there was never like a concern that I was getting to play over someone else. It was never something like that. And I don't think anybody or any other parent ever thought anything like that. So it wasn't really like playing time or favoritism. You might have to ask somebody else if I'm not, but I really don't remember anything like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But
And
go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, and how was it like with your relationship with your dad? Did it ever become like strenuous or anything, or was it pretty, you kept soccer to soccer and family to family?
I would say, yeah, we kept soccer to soccer, family to family, and he wasn't like a big pusher like some parents can be. I think he was just, having a fun time being there and obviously wanted us to do well and me to do well, but he wasn't like grilling me to, be better and be the best or anything like that. It was all kind of on my own terms of what I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to do. There were definitely other parents out there that I would compare him to, and he wasn't, like that. So it was a good relationship,
Good.
a healthy
And
one. Hmm.
yeah, and so you kind of mentioned that when you were talking about the staying fit or good for your fitness and your health, and you said that you struggled with it a little bit. What aspect were you saying that you struggled with a little bit? Was it the
Yeah,
nutritional?
I wanted to bring that up because I think it's an important part of where I am now in life. So I think as I grew, like, going through puberty and everything, I think women maybe tend to slow down. So I think me being around my brother who was eating everything he possibly could, and that's was his physical time of physically growing, and mine too in high school. I thought like I could eat whatever I wanted. So I think I put on, a little bit more weight than was probably a great idea for, a soccer player. I mean, I wasn't overweight or anything, but I was heavier and I was not as fast as I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of pulled back a little bit. I remember being like ODP and I wasn't as, like the top player or anything like that, but I was just on the team, and then I think I just could have been faster when I look back at everything. And I think that really kind of pulled back from me being a more of an exceptional player. And I wasn't that like I didn't have the nutrition right. I think I was just eating, maybe too much food, and I like sweets. But my mom, had a nutrition degree, and so I think we ate pretty healthy at home. So I think that was important. But eventually, like I said, it became more of a problem as I wasn't at home, like balancing what my eating habits were and for fitness goals. And I say that now because I did end up like eventually in life joining Weight Watchers at a point and, helping me, I guess, learn more about nutrition and everything like that. And then I actually practice obesity medicine now, and it's a huge role in my life, encouraging, patients and other people of how they can be healthier by just changing habits. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it played a big role in my life when I look back on it. So I did want to, bring that.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of families that when they do have crazy busy schedules, like my family, for instance, and we have a lot of small kids, and so we go, okay, we get home from school, and then, we see what we have for the next 4 hours until bedtime, and we're like, where are we going to eat dinner in here? And so it's definitely difficult for people to manage that kind of stuff. So, do you have any advice or tips on anything like that for families that might have that crazy schedule in the evenings and they're looking for answers of some tips of things that they could do to try and make sure that they're still eating healthy and not necessarily on the, fast food drive-through stuff all the time?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that the biggest thing in our house, like when we don't have, maybe the time to cook, is like batch cooking, mostly on the weekend. We'll like prep like a healthy meal and then be able to come home right after school and heat it up. and then have a little something healthy before going to off to sport. I think that growing up, I think I might have been pretty lucky with my mom being stay-at-home mom, and she was able to provide that. Like, I don't remember eating PBJ for dinner, right? Where I know a lot of people, there's nothing, they don't have the time. And like, how do you go to 3 practices, or for one kid and 2 for the other kid, like where you're every single day a week, where you're, have zero time to cook a
Mm-hmm.
meal, right? So I feel like I asked another, colleague of mine, like, how does she do it? And she's like, I just, they eat a lot of PBJ. I'm like, I can't do that for my kids. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so we try to, if we try to cook on the weekend, and I think just kind of having a lot of balancing, like a vegetable, a protein, and maybe we'll make a salad or something that night, but having it there and ready to be, just heated and eaten helps a lot. And when we can't do that, we have go-to places where we can pick up something that's more of a balanced meal rather than just hitting something like fast food. It's probably a little bit up from fast food, but I have certain restaurants where we can get, a rice bowl or something a little bit more healthy than that, than
Mm-hmm.
just PBJ or mac and cheese or something.
Yeah, yeah. I have a friend who if they have a big night, she does like a big crock pot dinner, and they eat
Mm-hmm.
dinner at like 3 or 4, and then they're off for the evening, and then they'll have like a snack on their way home before bed, kind
Mm-hmm.
of a thing. Yeah, it's definitely difficult to try and juggle something like that.
Yeah, crockpot's a great idea. Yeah, absolutely. And I do, my daughter, when we were coming home from soccer practice, I have her like bring a healthy snack on the way home. So one, we don't have to like waste more time getting to bed, having a snack when we get home. And then when she's pretty hungry still after. So at least it's something healthy.
So you wanted to talk about how soccer is today, lead into that, and what you want to talk about that as far as like, I think, kind of the emotional aspect maybe.
Yeah, so I don't know all the nuances of how it operates today because I'm still early in the parenthood, and it has changed a lot since I was a kid, for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
even the rules, they're
Yeah.
not the same as when I was a kid or last played even. So my concern is that here I am. I actually married someone who did play D3 soccer, and he wants to coach. He loves it. He's as passionate about it as I am, actually way more so. And we always imagine we have kids. I mean, guess what one of my son's names is? Just
Uh,
guess. I don't know. Pick a soccer player.
Ronaldo.
Close. It's Chavi.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
we were actually so my oldest son, his name is Xander, and our next son, because we do Xander with an X, and so we kind
Hmm.
of jokingly were gonna name him our second son. Like, we joked about naming him Xavi with an XAVI because of,
That's what his
anyway.
name is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
XAVI. Yeah. So anyway, and actually my daughter's the oldest, and we always called the baby in my belly Chavi regardless, and then we learned it was a girl and changed it. But anyway, I mean, we're super passionate. We love soccer. And then we get to this point. I mean, we have an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 3-year-old. So they're way young. Nothing is in stone yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we've put them in soccer shots, and we have them in the local rec league here. And then they asked her to play on the club league. And she was like, I think she just did it because that she wanted us, like she thinks she wanted us to do it. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't think she's that into it. But part of it, I think, is because her friends aren't there. Like, she doesn't have any classmates in there because she actually, I think she likes softball more. But here in this day and age, they're not allotted like enough time to play multiple sports if you want a little bit more commitment into a club soccer team, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
no, it's like rec, which was very unstructured and not organized. I feel like they didn't learn much. So we did try out the next level, but then it's like, for her team, luckily it's only 2 nights a week plus a game. The boys at that age are playing 3 nights a week plus multiple games on the weekend. I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
that leaves time to, try out other things, whether it be martial arts or baseball or dance for girls or, whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, where is this balance going to be for these kids growing up further if, you want them to be involved in sports now, or they want to be involved in sports now. And it's just kind of finding that balance. Like I feel like the soccer in the direction that it's going isn't having that balance. It's
Mm-hmm.
not, there's nothing in between for these younger kids, right? It's like going crazy all out club, or, the rec, which is not as good as you want it to be. So we're struggling with that. And then also struggling in general because I think she likes softball more.
Yeah.
And I did play softball. I played softball up until 8th grade. I even tried out my senior year of high school and played, but I was so bored. I ended up saying, I don't have time for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I like softball too, but I mean, I think soccer is a little bit better for, overall fitness
It's
and teamwork. And I just find that it's better in general.
it's
And
definitely I think soccer is definitely a better gateway sport to other
yeah.
sports because
Mm-hmm.
it's a very well-rounded sport and you there's a lot of things that encompasses it. And I know a lot of my husband's cousin is a professional was a former professional football player, and he as a youth, started off in soccer and then he led into other sports after that, and ended up going into the NFL. But it's kind of a great gateway sport. A team my husband coached, most of the players played, I mean, they played soccer basically their whole careers, but they would also step onto a football field and they would just be
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal. They'd go play basketball together for a season in like a rec league just for fun, and they'd cream everybody. And so it's definitely just good good for the athleticism and the teamwork and the camaraderie and things like that. But like you said, it is, and not just necessarily soccer, but other sports are starting to do it in general in the United States, where you have to be more specialized at a younger age. You have to pick your sport by the time you're a certain age, and so it's very difficult for people like us who grew up playing. I did soccer, I did dance, I did
Mm-hmm.
multiple different kinds of dance. I did basketball, I tried tennis, and so there were a lot of other things that I was able to do over the years, and then I started to weed the things out that I didn't like and
Right.
didn't, wanted to spend more time doing other stuff. And now it's more, it's definitely really difficult for parents and coaches and people, because I know I coach, I think they're mostly fourth graders, and I have several players who, play, they're just getting over with their basketball season and they run track. And so, as a coach, it's definitely difficult to coordinate things, but I try and make it so that I don't necessarily make them have to choose at such a young age, because I do want
Mm-hmm.
them to be exposed to other stuff. And especially if it's something that they like or complements the sport that they're playing, like, the running, that's always a benefit. Doing track and basketball, also working as a team, team stuff. So I have several players that do basketball and soccer. So it's definitely difficult for the parents, having to choose.
Yeah, athleticism was definitely the word that I was looking for using for that. And I mean, I grew up, doing the same thing, playing like many sports, and then, just like even dance and ice skating, and eventually dropped those and things like that. And then, continued on. And I don't think it's, in some part, I don't think it's that much different, because I remember, like, all these girls were looking for a college scholarship back then too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And ironically, we spent more money playing soccer probably than getting a scholarship, which is
Mm-hmm.
funny now because it's even more expensive to be playing the sport, and you're still looking for those goals. Do think it's super exciting, that I forgot her name, but the 15-year-old got signed.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think that's great for, women's soccer,
Mm-hmm.
but
For sure.
the different levels are just kind of crazy now, like with the ENCL, and I don't even know all the acronyms, but the
Mm-hmm.
different levels that are available to you to try. Like some people aren't even playing in their state. They have to fly to other states now to like playing all these games. And I do think that took a little bit of a hit during COVID, which is unfortunate, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just a different world a little bit now with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then one other thing I, don't want my daughter to miss out on, or kids, is, the friendships and the camaraderie that, I developed and was able to make and keep during soccer. Not only like in club, I just actually ran into a girl at the ballpark that I, played soccer and softball with, I think. It was just like I knew exactly who she was right away, and my dad even recognized her because he was there. It was just kind of neat. But I mean, throughout my life, I found it like anytime you play in a pickup game, you're like, instant friends, right? You're gonna meet people and have that bond. And it's not just in the United States. I traveled like solo in South America by myself, and people were like, "Oh, you play soccer, football." It was always like an instant friendship that you would have with people doing that. And I thought that was awesome. And indeed, that is also how, I met my husband. The day after I met him, he broke his ankle. So it took a few months, but in playing soccer, of course. And then he ended up joining like our co-ed team and history. But one other thing that we liked doing together was playing beach volleyball. And guess what? You can use your feet, right? So we loved that. We would be like heading in and using our feet on the beach volleyball court in Baltimore before we had to quit when we came here. But I mean, it's just, I feel like the friendships, the ability of just a universal sport, and the teamwork and the discipline, the motivation, everything that is involved in soccer. I don't know why I feel like it's more than that sport than others, but it's just something I don't want my kids to miss out on. And I think it hurts inside a little bit, and I get sad, especially because my nieces and nephews are playing, that my kids might not want to continue, or scared. But I know it's very early, so it's
and my kids, I mean, they're not super old. I have a 13-year-old, and when we had our kids, like everybody, because my husband has been a soccer coach for several years. I only started a few years ago, but we both played growing up and we're both really into soccer, and everybody, expected us like to force our kids to play soccer. And we were like, we'll let them try it. And if they don't like it, then whatever, and everybody was, when we would tell people that, they would kind of be like, no way, you'll make them play. And we're like, my oldest, he plays viola. He's, pretty good artist. He's really into coding, and I think he's really smart. And anyway, so sky's the limit for him. And we've always talked to him and been like, if you don't love it, you don't have to keep playing. And he's like, no, I like it. And he's not the fastest on the field or anything like that. He's a very smart player, but it's something that he wants to do. And so as long as he wants to keep doing it, then, we'll let him play. And recently he told either me or my husband that he wants to try and get a college scholarship for that. And so we told him, okay, if that's something you want to work towards, then, you need to start working on certain things. But it wasn't something that we ever wanted to be like, you have to have a college, and it's really hard for boys to get it too. So anyway, so we just basically, haven't really forced him, and he loves it. He goes to school with some of his teammates. I mean, in the area that we live in, I mean, back when I was younger, you were grouped together by where you lived, and those are the kids that were on your team. But now it's so, like, we have kids that will come from all over the place to play for certain teams, and so it's not necessarily localized. But so he, fortunately, actually goes to school with, I think, 3 of his teammates. And then when he goes to high school, if we're still in the same area, he'll go to high school with, I think, like 5 of his teammates. So that'll be kind of fun. But, he has those on and off the field friendships with his friends. But then our second son, when he started, we kind of started him a little bit earlier, just because he was so athletic. And so we thought he might like it, but he was super shy. And so he wouldn't go on the field unless one of us was with him, and it was just rec. And so, parents could go out with their player, but he was the one that we were surprised by the fact that he wouldn't go out there. But now he's a goalkeeper and he loves it, and he's throwing balls off the wall all day long to try and, practice his skills. And, it's pretty funny because now he's pretty gung-ho about the whole thing. And then our daughters, I kind of didn't want to put him into dance just because I lived through that, and I loved it. I absolutely loved my whole dance life and everything, but it was also really, it was a lot. And I was like, three girls, like we never thought we'd have three daughters, and we have three daughters now. And so I'm like, oh, that would be a nightmare, because for me it was just me, I was the only girl, and so only having one daughter doing dance, that's different than three. And so I was kind of like, I don't really want them to do it unless they ask. And they've never asked. They do gymnastics, but they all play soccer and they love it. And they're, my twins are 7 and they're just learning, and but they have fun. And so we're like, as long as they enjoy it and they want to be there, we'll let them play. But if they ever say that they don't want to play, we're not gonna force them to. And that's kind of something that, as a parent, it would be really hard for us. Like, we're lucky that they all love it and they all like it. They've also been around it so much that I feel like it's a natural thing for them to like it. But they do enjoy it, and they love their teammates and they like their coaches and they have fun. But I do have a niece who, she tried to play rec soccer with my daughter. They're about 3 weeks apart, and she has anxiety and autism, and so it was really hard for her. But they kind of, asked her again recently if she wanted to try it again. So I think they were going to put her on a rec team to see if she wanted to try it again, to see if, just to see, and they're kind of, my sister-in-law, she didn't play sports growing up. She was a dancer, but my brother-in-law, he was big into soccer too. He's just almost as much into soccer as my husband is, and coaches and everything, and so they coach together. But anyway, so yeah, they haven't ever forced her, but they were just like, if you want to try it again, but both of their boys play and they like it. And it's definitely really hard when you see the parents. Like, I had a player on my youngest daughter's team. I guess I wasn't coaching, but she would, at practices, she would do okay, but then when it came to games, she wouldn't really do anything. And the mom finally said, she really doesn't want to be touched. And so, they were like, I don't think we're going to come back next year. And so, it was the physical side of the sport, which, they were only playing 4v4, but for the younger players, sometimes they'd have to play boys. And so it was really difficult because boys at certain ages just dominate over the girls. And so it was really hard for them to, play sometimes. But yeah, the mom was just like, she just doesn't want to be touched, and she had good dribbling skills and could pass, but when it came to coming in contact with other people, she just didn't want to do it. And so they decided to just pull her out, So sometimes you just have to figure out what your kids are capable of and what they want. And it's, you don't want to force them to do anything. Like, you don't want them to hate it, and you don't want to waste the money and things like that. So if parents are ever questioning what to do for their players, put them in a rec program where it's maybe only $50 for 8 games or however many games, and give it a try there and progress through that. And if you don't like the way that the program's being run, if it's rec, then volunteer. That was one of the things that I struggled with, where I would see things with coaches, like for my kids, because I was like, I'm too busy to coach right now. And then I just decided, I don't like the structure that, the person doesn't have any structure or whatever. I'm grateful for other people volunteering all the time. And so it's not like I complained and I was, trying to step on their toes. But, my husband was like, if you don't like it, then you have to volunteer and do it yourself. And I was like, okay. So that's why I got into coaching, is because I wanted to be able to provide the structure and the balance and things like that. And, so if you're trying to put your players into a program, and you don't like what you see, then offer your assistance. So, which,
yeah, that's actually like what my husband and I were talking about doing, like creating this mid-level league, if you will, like a little bit more than the rack, but not near as much as the club, and making it, more conducive to those mid-level players. But from the thing about the touching, that's one of the things my daughter hated was, she didn't like being touched, but she also like did really well at practice, was not as much into the games, and trying to see why, but it's kind of hard to figure out. And I think there was also someone that was yelling at her. So like another player that I think didn't help the situation either. But I know I mentioned the thing about her friends playing, and you mentioned how your son had some friends going, but she played against another team where like she had classmates on it, and like you could see like her face light up. Like she definitely had a lot of fun that game, and even stayed to play in the next game after that. It was kind of crazy. But I don't know where it's going, and we'll see. It's too early, but I
Yeah.
just, it's a sore, subject, I think, for any parent or even couple who, are both huge soccer family, and what's going to happen with our kids.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard. It's always hard to tell because you don't want to be that parent that forces them to do it because you loved it so much, and you want to introduce it at least to see if they like it, and
Right.
if they do. I mean, my dad was a huge baseball fan, and he had all my older brothers play baseball, and I mean, I don't know how good my older two brothers were, but my brother just older than me who played, I mean, he was kind of like me. He did dance, he did soccer, he did basketball, he played baseball,
Mhm.
like all around athlete. And my older two brothers didn't really, I mean, my oldest brother played football and wrestled, and the next brother he did a little bit of football, but he wasn't really into sports as much, I guess. He was more into Star Wars. I don't know. He's kind of fun. But anyway, but my dad had all my brothers play baseball, and, because that was his generation. Baseball was the sport kind of a
Mhm.
thing. And I think, although my brother was really good at it, I don't know. I mean, I guess he probably enjoyed it, but like my husband played baseball, and he's like, I got so bored. It was just not enough stimulation for him, I don't think, as far as like, unless he was pitching all the time or hit, up to bat. But, if he had to play other bases or outfield or whatever, I have no idea. But, it just wasn't exciting, which that some people love it, some people don't. So it's not for everybody. But I think soccer overall, especially now with, the younger, because I remember when I played, like, I felt like we just went like 11v11 or maybe 5v5 and then 11v11. So there was, whereas now it's like 4v4 and then 7v7. And then in the United States, we play 9v9. Or
Hmm.
I'm trying to think, because there's something that Europe doesn't do that we do. And I think it's maybe it's
I'm not
7v7.
sure.
I don't know, but I know that there's, because we've looked at taking a team over to Europe and what they play, and I can't remember if they go from 7v7 to 11v11 or if they go 9v9 to 11v11. It's one of those, and we do one that they don't. But anyway, but now it's, you introduce more players on the field as you get older, whereas before I felt like it was a lot of, at least for younger players, I don't want to say standing around, but I guess you could say standing around because there were so many of you on the field and maybe not
Mhm.
everybody was as involved. But now with the less players on the field, more people get a piece of the action more often. And then as you get older and you figure out how to work together as a team and things, and you're progressing, then you introduce those extra players at those different levels and ages. So I do like that.
I do think it's a nice change that they've done that. It's definitely, gets people more involved, more touches on the ball when they use the smaller sided games
Hmm.
before they go to full 11-11. I
Yeah.
agree.
And I
Yeah.
actually just saw something on Instagram in the last day or two about just starting, and it's something I'm gonna, if I have time ever, because I'm so freaking swamped with everything. But it would be kind of fun to do like just pickup games where for
Hmm.
players at certain ages, just if people want to play pickup games, and that way kids, they're still in a semi-structured environment, but it's not like an official game kind of thing, and they can still just go out and have fun and play with their friends, and but they're still getting touches on the ball, that kind of a thing, but not necessarily feeling the pressure of their league game or tournament game or whatever, and seeing if that helps with the love of the sport, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
getting other players involved that, maybe don't get to play as often, and they get to play more, kind of a thing. So I just saw that, and so I thought that was interesting, because a lot of things are a lot more structured, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's an option for you guys to do, because I know you were saying you were looking into
Yeah.
trying to do something, but even just those kinds of situations.
They have, I thought it was indoor, but it's a nice little like turf facility where one of her little friends had a birthday party and it was just like all pickup games and you could see all the
Hmm.
kids having a lot of fun and it was really cute. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been to
So there's
some.
definitely lots of options.
Yeah, we've been to some parties like that where people rent out like a turf field and they just go
Hmm.
play, and they do like 2v2 tournaments or that kind of thing. So, and one of them they did like, it was like a World Cup, and so my son has like a shirt that I think it says Peru on it or something. I can't remember what country he was from. So that was kind of fun that they that was the party. He wanted to have like a
Yeah,
World Cup party, so that was fun.
that's cool. I was just on vacation without my kids, but two of my niece and nephew were there, and we played World Cup with them on the vacation. Like we're in the middle of like a Caribbean island, and we find the soccer field and go play World Cup. It was fun. Don't know if my kids would have participated, but I hope they would have. But yeah, it was, we had a lot of fun just reminiscing, even doing that, and I still have like shin splints from that because I
Yeah.
haven't played in so long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely a worldwide thing. I talked when I interviewed another person. His name's Trenton. He's an assistant coach at a local college here, and he had mentioned the players that they're recruiting. They recruit a lot. They recruit heavily foreign, so they do.
Mm.
They have a lot of international players that come and play for their college now, and it's like you're saying, instant friends. They have an instant family when they come here, because they have their teammates, and that's the family that they build off of while they're living here in their time here. And my brother, the one that I said that was more like into Star Wars, he lived in Brazil for a couple of years, and he when he was down there, because he wasn't like super athletic, but he would see me and my brother play soccer growing up and stuff, but he wasn't ever a soccer player except maybe rec when he was little. But so he would tell us about how he would play pickup games, because it's Brazil obviously, and
Yeah.
so he would try and play soccer while he was down there with the people that lived down there. So that that was kind of his glimpse into the sporting world. When they had the World Cup in Brazil, we were debating on going, and I was like, if we go, we have to have my brother go so he can be our translator. So, but
Yeah.
we didn't end up going, but that would be awesome. But I'm excited for it to come here to the United States,
Yeah.
so that'll be
Me
fun.
too.
So our kids will be prime ages to go to some of the games, so we're super excited about that.
We're
Um,
definitely going, whether our kids want to or not.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I went to the Women's World Cup in California, and we went to the final, and that was, I mean, that's an amazing memory for me.
Same.
And I mean, I still have my ticket stubs in a box somewhere, and I have they had these little towels that have the World Cup logo on it from that year, and I have one or two of those saved in the box too. So, I mean, it's just a fun memory to look back on. And if I can find the roll of film that I took pictures on, I might have some pictures somewhere in a box from that
Yeah.
experience.
I went to a game when it was in Orlando. I don't remember when that was, but I remember, it was great fun with my friends and my sister. I remember went with me as well. And then one of my other just watching games, when I studied abroad in London, I went to several like games there. I went to like the Man U Liverpool game, like at Man U, and Michael Owen was still playing. Did I mention Xavi's middle name is Owen?
No, but
And
that's funny.
yeah, and that was against David Beckham too, and that was just awesome memories. So I mean, I think just memories of playing and winning state championships with my family, and my sister-in-law was actually on my high school team when we did that, and my brother's team won as well. It's
Mm-hmm.
just, there's so many memories that we made that I don't want my, family to miss out on if they can make memories, but they can make them in any sport. So I'll learn to
Yeah.
let go if that's what I need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great to be able to have some sort of a sport, whether it's soccer
Mm-hmm.
or, just to help with that structure and problem solving skills. I know
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things that I discuss often with my husband about the lack of problem solving skills that kids these days don't have because they can just Google the answer versus trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure out how to fix it. And so, I mean, I feel like sports in general usually can help with that problem solving skills. Hopefully, I would assume, but another way for them to get the teamwork in for when you go into the workforce eventually, and I don't know, just all around life skills, I think. And it's fun. Hopefully you're doing it because it's
Absolutely.
fun.
Yeah.
But anything else that you want to talk about? You want to plug your podcast? I know you have your own
Oh,
podcast.
yeah, I do. Yeah. My podcast is the Get Healthy Tampa Bay podcast. So it's about all things health and wellness in the Tampa Bay community. I interview doctors and other local coaches, or not usually soccer coaches, but coaches, for fitness or anything like that. And even trying to get into, wellness in restaurants as well. And I just wanted to say, I think soccer, not just the memories and the camaraderie, but I obviously think it helped me get where I am today as a, doctor and, taking care of people as well. So I think obviously you have to go through the rigors of, pre-med and med school and all that. And
Mm-hmm.
just being disciplined and organized and, learning to work with others is really important for that too. So that's a big part. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my podcast is just anybody wants to listen, but I do have that. And then I'm a family and obesity medicine doctor in Clearwater and Palm Harbor.
Awesome. Yeah. And so do you have, so I'm trying to think of which major city is Clearwater closest to in
Oh,
Florida?
Tampa.
Tampa. Okay. Because
St. Pete.
my husband and my son were in Florida. I'm trying to remember when it was. It was over his birthday. So first week of February, they were down there for a showcase of some sort. So they flew out a day or two early to go to Orlando for my son's birthday, and then they went to the soccer. And
Bradenton.
I've never been to Tampa. Yeah, and so
Had to
they
be
were
in Bradenton.
they were in Bradenton with that, and
Yeah, we
but
have the Rowdies and then the Philadelphia team, blanking. They come down and train for a couple days as well there. It's like the Philadelphia just hub there because the Phillies come obviously
mm-hmm.
too. But yeah, so it's fun with the local
Yeah.
sports teams too.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they have some great sports complexes there in
Mm-hmm.
Florida. So we've been to
Yeah.
in out the Omni. It's somewhere in Orlando ish. It's basically there's a hotel, and right next to it there's soccer fields. And so we were there for National League one
Mm-hmm.
year, and so basically you would stay at the hotel and then you just walk over to the fields, and there were alligators in the
Yeah.
ponds, and so that
Oh,
was
wow.
interesting. But anyway, so that was really cool. And then at the tail end of the event that we were there for, there was actually some MLS teams that were coming that
Mm-hmm.
same weekend. And so we got in the elevator with, I really wish I remember which coach this was, but we got in the elevator, and my husband, he like never talks to anybody. And it was me and him and this guy, and you could tell he was dressed in soccer stuff, but my husband was like, "Are you?" And then he asked him what his name was,
Yeah.
and I'm staring at my husband like, "Are you talking to a stranger?" Like, because it was so out of character for him. But anyway, so
That's
and they
funny.
kind of talked for a minute, and we got out the elevator, and I was just like, "What the?" And he's like, "What? It's so and so," and he coaches, and I'm like, I can't remember what his name was. But anyway, so that was kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, he's been to the Disney.
Wide world of sports. Yeah,
He's
they
been
still
there.
host nationals.
Yeah, he's
They
been
were
there.
doing that when I played.
Yeah, and those are I mean, those are amazing fields and
Yeah.
awesome experience. And there's another field that we did nationals at a couple years or a year or two ago. That was really cool that we drove to. I can't remember where it was, but anyway, Florida's got some great facilities. I mean, like I said, it's snowing here today.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I actually, it's got cold.
Oh, really?
It was like 60 when I ran this morning. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we're driving to Las Vegas this weekend. I have my daughter's team is going to the tournament, and my son's team is also going to the same tournament, and so we're driving down to Las Vegas, hoping to escape. It's supposed to like snow again on Friday, so we're like, at least we better get ahead of the storm, and it's
Yeah.
it's not going to be super warm there. It's only going to be in like the 50s or 60s, but it's better than like the 30s that we're experiencing right now for spring. So we've had a lot of game cancellations and parks closed again for all the rain and snow that we're getting, which is great because we need it, but it sucks because our season's starting to be delayed a little bit. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've never experienced that.
Yeah, it's definitely different, and because like I know sometimes like when he's been at events on the East Coast, he's had fields that have flooded out, or like down in Texas, there's a complex that the roads around the complex will flood during
Mm.
certain things. I don't think some of the fields do, because if I'm picturing it correctly, the fields go up, but the roads around it flood. And so you can't get to the complex to play the games
Some of my
when
favorite games were on soaking wet fields, and you just slide down the corners.
yeah, yeah. But now they try and take care,
I
well,
know.
hopefully they try and take care of the
Yeah.
fields. So,
I know.
yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
anything else that you want to cover or talk about
I
before we
think we're
go?
good. Yeah. That
Okay.
was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Thank you
Awesome.
for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Thank you guys. I really hope that you enjoyed my interview with Kerry Reller. She was fun to talk to, fun to chat with, and great point of view and perspective from her. And I really loved our conversation that we had. And Kerry, thank you again so much for joining me. And if you guys, again, if you have any follow-up questions for her, or if you're in the area that she's in Florida, reach out. If you're looking for a physician, go check out her podcast to see what other tips and tricks she might have for you, or listen to the other interviews that she has done on her podcast to get some information. So thank you again, Kerry, and her links are in the show notes, so please watch out for that. Make sure you give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening, and please share the show. So please share this episode so it can get out there, great fun things, and I love it. If you are interested in being a guest, or you have questions for future guests, please reach out to me on Instagram at Kick It With Katie podcast _ between all the words, or shoot me an email, kickitwithkatiepod@gmail.com. So if you're interested in that as well. Thank you guys for joining me today, and hopefully you're all staying safe out of the snow here. So like I said, it's just snowing. Thanks for kicking it with me. Have a great day. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Kick It With Katie podcast _ between all the words. You can reach out to me with questions at kickitwithkatiepod@gmail.com. I also have a feature with SpeakPipe where you can leave me your own voicemail message if you want to be featured on the podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.